All right, uh, welcome back. Today we cover five current affairs, sharp, relevant, and exam ready. Let's go. Now, the first topic is the global headwinds and the economic stabilization fund. Now, the government has announced creation of an economic stabilization fund to counter global economic headwinds, including oil price shocks and potential recession in developed economies. Now, the fund will receive initial capital and be used for counter cyclical fiscal interventions during the economic crisis. Now, the mechanism aims to prevent any kind of economic slowdown from becoming severe recession through timely government spending. Now, the West Asia war pushed oil prices to $140 per barrel, creating massive fiscal stress through higher subsidies and import cost. Without fiscal buffers, governments must either cut essential spending or increase borrowing during crisis, but both worsening economic conditions. Now, counter cyclical fiscal policy means increasing spending during recessions and reducing it during booms. India lacks institutional mechanisms for automatic fiscal stabilization, unlike unemployment insurance or agricultural price supports in developed economies. Now, economic stabilization fund is basically government reserve for counter cyclical spending during economic crisis, global headwinds, international economic challenges affecting domestic growth and stability, fiscal buffer, government financial reserves available for crisis response spending, crisis management, institutional mechanisms for responding to economic shocks and downturns, counter cyclical policy, government spending increasing during recessions and decreasing during booms, economic shock, certain external events like oil price spikes disrupting economic stability. Then we have the Maharashtra Freedom of Religion Bill. Now, the Maharashtra has passed the Freedom of Religion Bill, requiring individuals to obtain district magistrate approval before converting to another religion. Now, the law mandates police verification of conversion request, creates offense of forced conversion with imprisonment up to 10 years, and places burden of proof on the accused to demonstrate conversion was voluntary. Now, the bill follows similar legislation in Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh, and Himachal Pradesh. Now, the Article 25 guarantees freedom of conscience and the right to freely profess, practice, and propagate religion. The Supreme Court held conversion is protected under religious freedom as individuals' fundamental right to choose their faith. Now, the law presumes conversions are forced unless proven otherwise, reversing the constitutional assumption that individuals exercise rights freely. Multiple states have enacted similar laws, creating patchwork regulation of religious freedom across India. These laws affect religious minorities disproportionately, as Christians and Muslims face accusations of forced conversions, while conversions to Hinduism receive no scrutiny. Now, Freedom of Religion Bill, state legislation requiring religious conversion through approval requirements, anti conversion law, legal restrictions on changing religion to prevent alleged forced conversions. Article 25, fundamental right to freedom of conscience and free profession of religion. Prior approval, government permission required before exercising constitutional right to convert. Religious freedom, constitutional protection for individuals to choose and practice faith. Maharashtra is the state enacting anti conversion legislation following other BJP governed states. Now, the next important topic is India Canada turnaround and reset. Now, India and Canada have announced comprehensive diplomatic reset after months of frozen relations following Canadian allegations about Indian involvement in activities on Canadian soil. Both countries agreed to back channel the Khalistan issue while restoring practical cooperation on trade, security, and education. Intelligence sharing resumed and visa services restarted. The reset followed sustained US diplomatic mediation. Now, the bilateral crisis began with Canadian Prime Minister's parliamentary accusation based on Five Eyes intelligence. India expelled Canadian diplomats and suspended visa services. Now, the freeze threatened India's relations with Western allies, as Canada is Five Eyes member. Now, the fundamental dispute remains unresolved. Canada's 1.8 million Indian origin population includes Khalistan supporters exercising free speech rights, while India designates them as terrorists. India Canada freeze complicated broader Five Eyes cooperation with India on Indo Pacific security. The US, UK, and Australia needed India Canada functional relationship for intelligence sharing on China and terrorism. Again, India Canada relations, bilateral diplomatic partnership restored after crisis period, diplomatic reset, a comprehensive restoration of normal relations after breakdown, Khalistan issue, dispute over six separatist movements activities in Canada, Five Eyes is the intelligence alliance requiring functional India Canada relationship, bilateral cooperation, two country partnership on trade, security, and education, and strategic partnership, long term relationship based on shared interests and values. I'm sorry, the image is not reference to the topic here. So the next topic is paid menstrual leave debate. Now, the several Indian states are considering legislation mandating paid menstrual leave, allowing women 1 or 2 days monthly leave during menstruation. Now, the proponents argue biological reality requires workplace accommodation, while opponents fear increased discrimination against hiring women. The debate reflects tension between gender equity through special provisions versus potential workplace stigma and employment barriers. Now, supporters argue menstrual pain is a biological reality affecting women's productivity and well being, requiring workplace accommodation like maternity leave. Menstrual pain severity varies widely among women. Some experience debilitating cramps requiring rest, while others have minimal symptoms. India lacks comprehensive paid sick leaves policies covering all workers. Most informal sector workers and many formal sector employees get no paid leaves for any illness. So, menstrual leave is paid time off work during menstruation for managing period pain. Sorry. Gender equity is equal treatment and accommodation for women's biological needs. Labor rights is workers' entitlements, including leave, wages, and working conditions. Workplace policy is employer rules governing attendance, leave, and employee benefits. Reproductive health, medical and social issues related to menstruation and childbearing. Period stigma, social taboos, and discrimination related to menstruation. Now, the bill to redefine transgender person. A private member's bill proposes redefining transgender person to allow self identification of gender identity without requiring medical certification. Now, the bill aims implementing the Supreme Court's Nalsa's judgment, which recognized gender identity as fundamental right. Now, the current Transgender Persons Act requires screening committees and medical certificates, contradicting the court's recognition of self determined gender identity as constitutionally protected. Now, the NALSA judgment held that gender identity is a core of personal identity and self determination, protected under Article 21. The 2014 NALSA verdict recognized transgender persons as third gender, mandated legal recognition of self identified gender, and required affirmative action. The bill represents a broader struggle for LGBTQ rights recognition in India. Now, while Supreme Court decriminalized homosexuality and recognized transgender rights, legislative implementation remains incomplete and contradictory. Transgender rights, legal protection for individuals whose gender identity differs from assigned sex, self identification, individuals' declaration of gender identity without external certification, Nalsa judgment, 2014 Supreme Court case recognizing transgender rights and third gender, gender identity, person's internal sense of gender, which may differ from both assigned sex, LGBTQ rights, legal protections, and social acceptance of sexual and gender minorities, and medical certification, requirement for expert validation of gender identity rejected by activists. That's it for today's session. Stay consistent, stay sharp. See you tomorrow. Thank you.